I've started to record the session. Hi guys, welcome to today's session. Today's session we're going to be doing databases. So in this case, we're going to be simulating a Home Affairs project, right? Everybody knows what is a Home Affairs. So if you go to Home Affairs and you want to create, let's say, an ID, or you want to create a passport, they store data there, they store information, right? Of course, we're not going to store all the information, but we're going to store specific information that we need for this class specific, so that we understand what is a database, right? So the first thing we do is to create a repository that we're going to call Home Affairs. So this is the Home Affairs repository that we're creating. And yeah, we can create the repository. So once we create the repository, this is what we have on our side. So that's the first thing. Before you do anything, start by creating a repository. I showed you guys how to use GitHub. So now you have a GitHub repository. This is where we're going to store our code and everything, right? Are we still together? So this is where we're going to store our codes and everything. So the first thing that we do is to clone this repository into our local machine. So we're going to click here and then go into our local machine, and then you right click your mouse and then you open Git Bash here, and then this will pop up, right? Once this pop up on your machine, you can type git clone. You can type git. Okay, I don't know why my mouse is freezing. Just gonna close and open again. So yes, we type git clone, right? So once we type git clone, we're going to paste the link that we copied from GitHub. Once we click enter, this is what is going to happen. So it's going to clone into our desktop, right? So if we click ls, we are listing all the things that are on our desktop. These are all the folders that we see on our desktop, right? But we are interested on this one, the Home Affairs one. So the first thing that we do is to cd into that folder, cd into the Home Affairs folder. And then now, do you guys see here, we are inside the Home Affairs folder, right? So now we are inside the Home Affairs folder. We can type folder dot. So we are basically opening that folder using Visual Studio Code, but at this point in time, it doesn't really matter that much. So if you go to your PC and then you go to your desktop and then you check your desktop, there is this folder here called Home Affairs, right? So we have this folder called Home Affairs. Are we still together on the same page, guys? Cool stuff. So before we can start writing coding or creating a database or anything that has to do with data, first of all, we need to understand what information are we storing in that database. So what information are we storing on a database? So now this is where we do the planning. So let's say we are planning here. We haven't started writing the code at all. We're just planning what information are we going to store. So now we come here, you open an Excel sheet. You can open any tool of your choice that you can use to plan, to try visualize the data that you're going to have before you even start writing code, right? You can either create some diagrams or you can use Excel sheet. But because you guys are still beginners in the data space, so I would advise to use Excel sheet, where you try to simulate how will your database look like, right? So the first thing that we do is to try create a table, for instance, and then this is how the table will look like. So let's just say this table looks like this. Cool. And then here, if you check your ID, what is there on your ID? There's your name, right? What else is there? There's your surname, right? And then, okay, in fact, there's your first name. Let's just do this. There's your first name, and then there's your second name, which is the middle name. I think they call it the middle name or first name. What does it say? And then we have your surname, and then we have your date of birth, right? Date of birth, right? And then what else do you have on your ID? So if your first name, you have your middle name, you have your surname, you have your date of birth. What else do you have? You have your citizenship, I think. Citizenship. Citizenship. And then I think there's the gender. Yes, there's the gender, correct? And then what else do we have? So there's the gender, and then there's the date of issue, right? When was your ID issued? Date of issue. What else? What else are we missing? So this is basically simulating how a real world data case scenario would look like, right? What else is there on your ID, guys? What else is there on your ID? You can just pop it on the chat. Okay, let me just get my thing just to see what's there. So there's your surname, there's your names, there's your ID number. Yes, correct. There's your ID number. So there's your ID number. Cool stuff. There's your ID number. What else is there? What else is there? And then there's a signature. Okay, we don't need the signature at this point. So the most important one is surname, it's names, it's sex, which is gender, it's nationality, which is basically your citizenship or whatsoever. And then we have your date of birth, and then we have the country of birth, and then we have the citizenship. Actually, let's try and make it look like the actual ID so that it's easy to use. So the first thing is so the first thing there, it's your surname, actually. Let's just do this. Let's actually make it simulate the real ID. So you have your surname, and then after your, to the left, okay, cool. So you have your surname, and then after your surname, what do you have? You have names, it says names. This is where you see both names. And then after names, what do you have? You have your sex, which is basically your gender. And then after the sex, what do you have? You have the nationality. And then after the nationality, what do you have? So after the nationality, you have your ID number. Yes, you have your ID number. ID number. And then after the ID number, what else do you have? You have the date of birth. So date of birth. After the date of birth, what do you have? You have the country of birth. So you have the country of birth, right? And then a country of birth. After country of birth, what do you have? You have the status, whether you're a citizen or you're a non-citizen, right? So this is how a typical ID would look like, right? Can we all agree? Do we all agree? Cool stuff. So now you come here. I'll share this with you guys so that you guys can try fill it in. So we are basically collecting the data live, but please do not put your nationality, do not put your ID number. I just want us to simulate just a case where you go to the Home Affairs and then they say to you, put in your details. So this session is recorded, so please do not put in your personal information there. I just want you guys just to put some random information that kind of makes sense, right? So that you guys have the feel of how does this information come about. So yeah, I sent the link on the chat. So please do fill in the information there. Please do not put your real personal information there. This session is recorded. Oh, who's removing my stuff there? And then, okay, yeah, it's fine. Let's use South African water. It's okay. Use 310. And then maybe ID number 2000. Must be 13 numbers somewhere there. Right. Cool. Date of birth. Okay, let's try get some real ID numbers there. That makes more sense. The ID number has to make a bit of sense because we need the date of birth, and all that is basically simulated from that, right? So ID number. Cool, and then just put the Temba, we have Smith, Franco's, male, French, South African, Nigerian, blah blah blah. Okay. Cool stuff, cool stuff, cool stuff. And then here we have this ID number. And then yes, guys, let's put the ID numbers. The ID numbers have to be 13 digits. The ID number has to be 13 digits. Okay, so we have 85 there. And then date of birth is basically 16, whether April, and then the year. So it's the date, it's the month, it's the year, and then country of birth. You can just randomly put there. Someone can be born somewhere, and then they would, yeah. Nkosnati Sevilla, Japanese. Ha 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 ha. Yes, yes. Alo even doing child. Your rose doesn't make sense. What do you mean the rose doesn't make sense? Which rose, guys? Which rose, guys? Cool. Can you guys manage to extract the actual date of birth and the month and whatever from this date? So the first part is basically the year that someone was born. So this one here, it has to be, okay, 88. Okay, cool. That's fine. Yeah, let's extract the date of the year of birth, the month, and the date from there. let's put it by information. So this is basically how a real world case scenario data would be collected if we was to collect it through an Excel sheet, right? Everybody agrees, right? Thumbs up if you guys agree. If we was to collect people's personal information, this is how we will collect it through an Excel sheet, right? So now, but let's say now we need to make an application or whatsoever to keep this information. We cannot keep this information on an Excel sheet. So that's where the concept of databases comes into play, right? So now we will create a database called Home Affairs, and then that database that we're going to call Home Affairs, it's going to store information. So we're going to be using SSMS for that. Good stuff. So yeah, we have Mosia Temba mail, we have Kosinati Sibia, who's male, who's Japanese. Yeah, Japanese. It's fine. It's fine, guys. And I know who put that. Is it you, Happy? Happy is you. You Happy, is it you?
No. No. Yeah. I did miss the B.
I thought it was you, Sibia. That's not okay. Cool stuff. But yeah, this is how we would collect the information, right? But this is not an efficient way of doing it if we wanted to create an application, if we needed to create like an app. So yeah, and then same applies would be the same thing. The very same people, if they wanted to apply maybe for a passport or whatever, the same information will be collected, right? And I think if you check at the back of your ID, there's also a date of issue, like when was your ID issued, right? If you guys check. And then there's some random assigned numbers there on your ID. So now we have this information. So now we need to firstly try understand the data types. So of course we have the information here is our information of the individual, but because we are working with data, we need to understand what type of data is this, right? So the first thing that we need to do is to say, okay, cool. What is this data? So whenever you're working with data, you need to understand that your data, especially in database, whether your data is a VARCHAR, right? So it's a VARCHAR, or it's an integer, or it's a bool, right? So a varchar is basically text, your string. It's basically a string, right? So it's string. An integer, it's basically a number. It's basically a number. And then you have a Boolean, which is either true or false, right? Which can either be represented by using a 1 or what's going on there? Okay, so which can either be represented by using either a 1 or 0, right? So that's how the data would be represented. So that's the first thing that we need to understand. So in this case, what is this? So this is a varchar, right? So we would say this is a varchar. Do you guys agree? So this is a varchar. We said, what is a varchar? A varchar is basically some characters there of some sort, right? And then now when we do the name, what will the name be? It will probably be a varchar as well, right? Do you guys agree? And then if we do the female here, what is it? Is a varchar as well. And then if we do the nationality, is a varchar as well. But then if we do the ID number, what is the ID number? What is the ID number? So the ID number is an integer, right? Because it's a number, right? It's a number, so we can call it an integer. But this we have to call it a varchar why are we calling it a VARCHAR? Does anyone have an idea why are we calling it a VARCHAR? So we're going to call it a VARCHAR because there's a special character. Do you see this guy? So when you count numbers, you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, right? Those are numbers. The moment you put some at or dot or comma or exclamation mark, and then these numbers no longer become integers, they become VARCHAR, right? Do you guys agree? Are we all on the same page? Cool. And then what is this here? So this is going to be a VARCHAR. And then what is this? This is going to be a VARCHAR as well, right? So now we have VARCHAR, 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 VARCHAR. But so one thing that you need to know when you work with these things is that you need to specify the size. You need to specify the size of the VARCHAR that you are creating. Cool. So now the size is basically the characters that you are planning to store in that thing, right? So we can call this VARCHAR, and then how many characters do we want to store there? Let's say maybe we want to store 50. So you can store 50, you can store 100, you can put whatever number you want, but I would say just use 250 for now. This is the most commonly used, 250 or 50. So we're just gonna use 50 because it allows us to put people's names that are a bit longer. And then this one here, this one will never be longer than male or female. So we can just say 250 as well. So the 250, we said the 250 is for what, guys? You can put on the chat there. We said the 250 is for what? So the number of characters we need to store, right? But then now, if you're working with integers, for instance, the numbers, you don't really have to worry much about that part specifying it, right? So you can just say int, and then this date of birth as well. We can just say, okay, what I'm gonna put on the date of birth, I'm just going to put the 250 as well. I mean, you could put 50 if you want, you could put 500 if you want, but just put 250 for now. 250, and then you can come here as well, and then you can say 250. So now you have this table here, but that basically simulates a table in a database, right? Are we still on the same page? Same page, full stuff. So now we're going to open a tool called SSMS. This is how it looks like. So this is the tool that I think I told you guys to install. So the first thing you do is click there, and then you search for SQL, and then this will pop up, and then you open it. So once you open it, this is the pop-up that is going to appear on your machine. So this is the pop-up that is going to appear on your machine. So you sign in there, and then I'll just open these side by side so that we have a clear overview of what is going on there. So I'll try make this a bit small. I'll try make this a bit smaller, cool stuff. So now we need to create a database. Yeah, Bongi?
Please exit from your SQL and join again. I can open it again.
Okay, cool. So I'll close it. So how we open it, we come here and then you search SQL, right? Once you search SQL, and then you just open it from there. You can just say open SQL. Once you open SQL, and then this is what is going to pop. Still on the same page, right? Cool stuff. So now we're going to connect, right? So once you connect, this is the interface that you are going to get. And then once you get this interface, you can click here where it says new query. Do you guys see where it says new query? So you click there where it says new query, and then this will pop up. So once this pop up, and then we can start writing our SQL. So what is SQL? SQL is basically a language used to query data. So it's a query language, it's a structured query language. So each and every programming language serves its own purpose in the market. So in this instance, SQL, what does it do? It's used for querying databases and creating databases. So now, the first thing that we need to do now is to create a database. So we're going to create a database. Okay, let me just see if I can expand this. So can you guys see properly, right? So we're just going to create a database, and then this database, we're going to call it home affairs. So home affairs records, DB. So home affairs records database, because we are storing some home affairs data stuff there. And then you can just say go, and then you can just type use home affairs database. So the first thing that we do here is to run this here. So if we run this, execute, it's going to show you completed, that the database has been created. So now, how do we check if the database was created? We come here where it says database, and then we click on it, and then we refresh. So once you click on it and refresh, and you expand it, there's a plus there. You can click expand, there's a plus, and then there is our database created. So if you click on our database created, you can expand it, and then you can click on tables, you can expand it. Once you click on table and expand it, what's here? So there's nothing here. Do you guys see? So this is empty, there's nothing. So now we created a database, right? So now we need to create a table. Remember when we created an Excel sheet? Do you guys remember that part when we created an Excel sheet? So think of if someone says to you, create a database. If you was to think of it from a Google Sheet point of view, they are saying to you, create an Excel sheet, which we did, right? Which we did here. So we created a Google Sheet. If someone says to you, create a database, think of it as you are creating a new sheet like this, and then you created a new sheet, and then what do you name it? You probably name it Home Affairs. Home Affairs, right? Home Affairs, right? So if someone says to you, create a database, it's you creating a Google Sheet, and then you name it Home Affairs. Think of it like that. And then once you have it like that, you need to create a table. Do you guys remember? We need to create a table, right? So making sure that our data is a bit formatted properly and we can structure it properly. That's a table, which is basically what we did when we were creating this one here. When we're creating this here, right? So now we have a database. Now here we have a table, but on the database point of view, we don't have a table, we only have a database, right? So what is the next step from here? What do we do? So now we need to create a table, right? But before we get there, we need to save this code. Remember what did we do? We did learn about GitHub. So now the first step was us creating a database, right? So we created a database. So now we are saving this code, right? And then after saving this code, we can basically close it because we don't need it anymore. We have a database. Now let's create a table. So step 2 is for us to create a table. So we're going to create a table, and then this table is going to be called AI, guys. People are throwing AI everywhere. Now we can't code freely. So you create a table. So do you guys remember this table, right? So this is what we are creating now. So we are going to create a table. So I'm just going to make this a bit small on the side so that we can see how our table looks like. So we're going to create a table, and then this table is going to be called person records. Person records, and then this is how it will look like. And then now we need to add the structure here. So the structure that we need to add the surname based on what we have on the side. So surname, which is a varchar, right, which cannot be null. So null means it cannot be blank. And then the second part, we need to add a name. We need to add a name, which is a varchar. We said so names. We said it's a varchar as well. So we said you can either use 250 or you can use 50, right? You guys remember that part? Are we all on the same page? Which cannot be null. Everyone must have a name. Everyone must have a surname, and then there's also your sex there. So your sex, which is a varchar. At this point, we're using varchar, and then the varchar is, we can use 50 or we can use 250, it doesn't matter. And then now we have the nationality. If you guys check here, we have the nationality, which is basically this here. So you just come here on the database, nationality, which is basically nationality, which is basically a varchar as well, 50, cool. And then we have ID number, right? So ID number. So your ID number, we said your ID number is what? So we're just gonna put an underscore ID number. We said it's going to be an int, right? Which cannot be null, because when you do your ID, there has to be an ID number there. So null means that it cannot be blank. And then we have date of birth there. So date of birth, and then we're going to create it here as well. So date of birth, which is basically your, so we're going to use varchar just to be safe for now, because you guys are still beginners. We don't want to make it a bit complicated for you, but later on we're going to use like a data type. But for now, let's not use it. Cool. And then we have your country of birth, which is basically a varchar as well, which cannot be null. Cool stuff. And then now we have your status here, right? So we have your status. So you're creating your status, which basically is a varchar as well, which is basically a varchar as well, and it cannot be null. So if you are running a code and then it turns into that blue, green, what's that color? Blue, green, whatever that color is, you just put it inside a bracket because it's a special function. Now, if we run this, let's see what happens. So now it ran successfully. It ran successfully. How do we check if it was created? You come back here into your databases, Home Affairs database, you refresh. And then once you refresh, you can click on tables. And then once you click on tables, there is our person's records. Do you guys see that? There is our person's records, and then we can right click on it, and then we can select top 1000 rows, right? Do you guys see? There is it, but we did not insert data. So now, and our next step would be us inserting data. But before we go there, we said the first thing, every time you create something, a table, what do? You always save your code. So we save this code, Control S, you save it there. This is our step 2. Our step 2 is called create table records, right? Can we all agree? This is our step 2. And then once our table is created, which means we don't need this part anymore because we used it, we created, now we close it, right? And then we close this. What is our next step? Our next step is to insert data. So now we are inserting data into that table now. So let's insert that data. So what do we type now? So we're going to type insert, right? Into, we are inserting data into what? Into a table. What did we name that table? So that table was named persons records. Do you guys remember that part? Are we all on the same page? Do you guys remember that part? And then you can open brackets, and then now you can name all the columns that we had on the other side. Do you guys remember those columns, right? So we had surname. Let's just try and minimize this a bit so that it can show properly. So we're inserting into persons. Let's just put this in the new line so that you guys can see properly. So we are inserting into person records, and then we name the columns that we had on the other side. So we had surname, we had name, we had sex, we had nationality, you had ID number, you had person of birth, date of birth, you had country of birth, you had statuses, right? But what are we inserting here? We are basically inserting values, right? So once we insert values, you're going to have almost something similar to this, but with the actual data that you are inserting. So because we are inserting one record for now, we can just do this. And then we can say we are inserting Mosia, Temba, male, who's a South African. So basically this has to align with this here. This has to align with this. And then this has to align with this. And then this has to align with this. This aligns with this. And then this aligns with this. And then this aligns with this. And then this now aligns with this. Are we all together? All on the same page? Thumbs up if you're all on the same page. Cool. So let's try run this insert. Let's see what's going to happen. Is it gonna work? Cool. So it's giving us an issue. What is the issue? The issue is on the... Do you guys see the issue? What do you guys think the issue is? If we read the issue and we try, remember on the data type that we worked on, what could be the issue here? What could be the issue here? So the issue is, do you guys remember when we created our table? If you check this part here where we said, let me just check. When we created our table on the, what is it? There's a part where we said ID number. Do you guys remember the ID number here? So we said the ID number must be an int, right? But looks like we can't use an int at the moment because this thing here, it's a bit big, right? So let's make it a VARCHAR as well for now. Let's just make it a VARCHAR for now. And let's see if are we going to get an error. So the first thing we need to do now is basically drop the table. So which table are we dropping? This person's table, if it exists, we're dropping it. Cool stuff. And then now we can recreate it. Let's run it again. What does it say? Multiple null, where is it? Oh, okay, here, there's an error there. Let's create the table again. Cool, the table is created. So we basically have to resave this code on the, when we save the code. You guys remember we saved our code, right? So we basically have to resave this, but because I have it saved, I won't resave this part, so I'll just close it. And then let's try insert now and see. Do you guys see one record affected? Let's go now, come back here. and then let's query this table again. So if we query this table again, do you guys see now? We have this information, and then we have this insert information, but we only inserted one person there. Hi, Bungi. Hi, Bungi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay, please explain to me. We save the table, but then you said you're not saving it again. Reason being what? Whereas we changed the int to VARCHAR, no?
Yeah, so I updated. So what happened is remember I created a folder on my PC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on the folder on my PC, I updated my ID number to VARCHAR, and then yes. So it's basically, see, I have step 1, create the tables. I have step 2, and then the step 2, what did it do? It created the tables, right? First step, create the database. Second step, so create database, create tables, and then what would be the third step? The third step would be me inserting data, insert data. So I'm inserting data, so I'm inserting data there, .sql. So now I need the code. Can you please mute on your side so that,
Oh, sorry.
yes. So now I'm inserting data. So now this is the data that we are trying to insert now. So if we run this, 7 records affected, right? But I need to save this code so that I can be able to use it in future if I need it, and then I can save it here. So once it's saved here, I can push it to GitHub. Do you guys remember we spoke about GitHub? We did, the first thing we did, it was basically learning GitHub. So now I can say, pushing create DB and table scripter, pushing create DB and table scripts. So if I click here, commit and push, right? It's going to be pushed on GitHub. And how can we confirm that? So we're basically going to log in into our GitHub there, and then we can just refresh here, right? So do you guys see creating tables, create database, create tables, insert, and all that. And then, yeah, now I have the code on GitHub. It's public there. You guys can access it. You guys can use it. But before we go there, it's fine. Let's just finish on our side. So now we can close this. We don't need this. We can close this. We don't need this. What do we do now? So we come here, expand, and then right click here, and then select one. Do you guys see now? Just that I can't zoom in. It won't allow me to zoom in, but I'm not sure if you guys can see the information there. Can you guys see? So now there is the information that we inserted in the database. But now this information here is inserted twice, right? Because we ran it. We ran it like we ran it twice, right? So hence we have these duplicates here. We'll fix it as we go. But for now, the most important thing is, do you understand how to create a database? Do you understand how to create a table? And do you understand how to insert into the table? That's the most important thing. Cool. So now, if I'm working with someone else, let's say I'm working with Happy. Bongi, yeah? Bongi? Oh, okay. So let's say now I'm working with someone else, and the person that I'm working with, they don't have to go through the process that I've went through of creating the tables and doing all those type of stuff, because the code is pushed on GitHub. All they need to do is clone this project and create the stuff. So now, Happy, can you please share your screen, and then let's clone this project so that we can try run it or run it on your side. I'll send the link on the chat.
Okay.
I'm stopping to share my screen now, and then Happy, you can share your screen.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, you can share your screen. Do you guys understand the logic? Thumbs up if you guys understand the logic so far. Thumbs up. Tato is saying cool. Everyone is saying cool. Sweet stuff. So now I'm working with Happy on the project. So what Happy has to do is open the link that I sent him to GitHub, and then he can go clone it. So he can log into his GitHub. Happy, did you manage to set up SSMS right on your machine?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay, so if you didn't manage to set up SSMS, then you won't be able to run it.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. So these are the codes that Happy have on his side, right? But he won't be able to run them because he doesn't have SSMS on his machine, right? Cool. So now let's set up SSMS on Happy's machine now, SQL Server, so that we'll be able to work on it. So the first thing that Happy has to do is search for SQL Server. So Happy will search for SQL Server. Please mute on your side, Happy, so that the sound of this recorded session doesn't have echoes. Cool stuff. And then now, the first thing is to click the SQL Server downloads, correct? So Happy would click there. And then this is the pop-up that will pop up on his screen. Please drag the window of the session like down, down, down. The session, just drag it down. Oh, yeah, yeah. Cool stuff. And then you can scroll down. So now there, where it says SQL Server, scroll up a bit. So there's a part where it says SQL, no, down a bit, slowly. Yes, there it says SQL Server 25 developer there. No, SQL Server 2025 developer. Down, your cursor, yes, there. So the standard one, we want the standard one. So you can click that one. So we download that for now. So it's downloading on his machine and it's downloaded now. So you can go to his downloads or install. Let's go to your downloads, Happy. So once we go to the Happy's downloads, we're going to see that application downloaded. So we are setting it up now. Cool. So there is the download. This is what he sees. So what do? You double click on it, Happy. So Happy double clicks on the application. And then once he double clicks on the application, it will load. Let's give it some time to load. Cool. And then now you can click basic. So click basic, cool. And then now you can accept. And then you can install now. So we are installing the application now, cool. So let's wait for it to install. So it's downloading. So now we are configuring the application. So we are developing a Home Affairs system now, me and you guys, so that the Home Affairs system doesn't go offline, you know. So you need to develop a better system. That's what we are doing now. So after this session, you can go apply for a tender, guys, and tell the guys that you have a solution for them. And tell them, really, guys, I have a solution. Give me a tender. They'll give you a tender, guys, and then you fix the system there. So yeah, it takes a bit of practice. So I feel like SQL is actually the easiest. I feel like anyone can learn SQL. Out of all the programming languages that exist in the world, I feel like anyone can learn SQL. SQL is the easiest. It's like English. All you do is just say, oh, I want to create a database, and then you type the create a database. Now I have a database. Now you say, okay, let me create a table, and then now you create a table. And then after creating a table, now you say, okay, now let me insert data. Now you're inserting data. It's basically English. It's basically English. Yeah, happy?
Yeah. Do you think is it necessary to know the advanced SQL functions?
So I mean, I think it depends. I think it depends on what do you aspire to be, one, and also it depends on what type of projects are you working on, and then it also depends on your level in the field. As a junior, once you understand how to create database tables, make joins, and then make stored procedures and views, and then you should be fine. And then when it comes to functions and variables and those type of stuff, I think those are things that you should worry about maybe in your second year of working or third year. And then now you can, you can start worrying about fully understanding those things. So yes, in the long run, you would have to know them, but in the beginning, nah, you don't really have to stress much about it.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, so I'll just go to the install there so that it shows properly on the recording. Cool. So it's still installing. While it's still installing, I want you to just a second. I'll send you the link that I want you to click on. I'll send it now, or I'll tell you what to search. So I want you to search for So we're installing that now. So that part there is being installed. So we need the second part of it. So the second part of it would be us going to. Okay, it's fine. Let's wait for it to finish. Let's wait for it to finish. So if someone comes to me and say, yeah, Ketro, I don't have SSMS installed, Zolo anani guys, Zolo. Sizoshayana, Zolo. I want you to search install SSMS while we wait for this to finish. Install SSMS. Search for install SSMS. Cool stuff. And then click there on the first part, install SQL Server Management Studio, correct. You can click there and then you can scroll down. And then do you see where it says install SSMS 2022 installer? Where your cursor is? Yeah, there below one, go down below. There's the highlighted part. Yeah, click there. So click there and then let it download. Cool stuff. It's probably done downloading. You can click on it. Let's see. Don't install, just click on it so that we can see where it's located. Yeah, let's go to where it's located. Cool stuff. So expand your screen so that the recording can show the part properly. Expand it. Yeah. Can you change it to tiles for now, or you change it back later? Just change your views to tile. Right click your mouse. Then view, make it tiles. Cool. Can you expand it a bit? Maybe larger. Go to views again. And then extra large icons here. On top. Yes, there. Cool stuff. So this is how it looks like. So SSMS and the SQL Server, these are the two applications that you need on your machine to be able to use this SQL Server SSMS tool, right? So once you have these two tools, and then you can install it. So for now, there, you can click there, still installing. Cool stuff. So while it's still installing, so that the session, the video doesn't become a bit long while we're waiting for the installation, I'll share my screen. I'll take over. Please let us know when it's done installing now. So now here, we are querying the data in the database. So we are querying the data in the database. So probably you guys don't understand what this is and what does it do, but you don't have to worry about it. What you need to know is you can Google for a website called W3 Schools, right? So if you click on W3 Schools, if you click on it, this is what you will see. And then once you are here, you can basically click where it says, you can see there where it says SQL. You guys see where my cursor is at? Cool. You can click on SQL, and then this is where basically everything is. So you don't necessarily have to cram the code. You can always come reference back here. So we were creating a table, a database and a table. Do you guys remember? So here you can create a database. So this is how you create a database. So you create database and then you give it a name. If you want to drop it, there's also a function to show you how to drop it, which is this one here. So you can create and drop a database. And then, so it basically shows you the logic that you need here. The first logic is create the database. The other logic is to create a table. So you can create a table, you can give it a name, and then whatever name you give, you can either enter your column names, and then you can enter the data types of that, right? Once you have it, for instance here, we created a table, persons, where we said person ID, last name, first name, address, and the city and where they stay. And then you can basically play around this, it allows you to, to get your own SQL server. You can install it, or you can just play around here on the cloud, just play around the statements. And it has questions that you can play around with, right? So if it says to you, what is the primary purpose of SQL create table statement? And then you can read here to create a new table in a database, okay? To insert data into a database, nope. To join a table, nope. To delete, nope. And then you can submit answer. So it basically tells you whether your answer is correct or not, which is basically a good way for you to practice. So all these SQL statements, they do have that part that allows you to, play around stuff and understand what's going on and test questions. You can try yourself there, and run the SQL code if you don't have it on your machine. Let's say maybe we want to see customer that and that. For now, we can copy this and then we can come here and say, let's say select, and then I can put those names there. Can put those names there. I can put those names there. And then I can say from this. So these are the columns I need. And then if I remove this part and run this, do you guys see? This is what I get. So if I say I need to select, I don't need the ID, I can just remove it. And then I can be left with customer name, contact name, and address. And then I can run here. And then this is what I see. Do you guys see? Are we all on the same page? Does it make sense? Thumbs up. If you don't understand, you can just throw in there. Cool. So for now, don't stress much about all these things. Yeah, we'll do these things later on. For now, your only worry is, do I have SSMS SQL Server set up on my machine? Yes or no? If yes, then that's good. The second step is, do I understand how to create a table? Yes or no? Cool. Do I understand how to create a database? Sorry. Yes or no? Cool. Do I understand how to create a table? Yes or no? Cool. Do I understand how to insert data into the table? Yes or no? Cool. And then yes. And then you can do that. So You guys will have to go create, this is your homework now. You'll go create a database of your choice. Of your choice. It's up to you, whatever database you want to create. And then you can create table, and then you can insert data into those tables. That's your homework for the week. So that's your homework for the week. So yeah, happy? Is it still downloading?
Yeah, I just completed. It's now extracting the set of files.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. Please share your screen so that it shows, so that we can have that part recorded.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
I think my code is not responding.
Bongiseni?
Quick one. So I'm just noticing that you actually selected from the database, and then I understand hierarchical, you went database tables and all. But I mean, right now I'm just selecting directly from the table. I was just wondering, what's the difference? And also in terms of navigating, how does the system currently know that I'm actually within the database? I'm just straight from MMS, SSMN, SSMS. Yeah.
Okay,
So I'm not actually using I'm not using Visual
Let me
Studio.
share my screen. That's actually a good question. Let me share my screen. That's a good question. So, the first thing when you created a database and tables, you had to log in here, right? That's the first thing. Do you agree? You have to connect. So you connect to the server, and then once you connect to the server, if you check here, you have databases. So if you click databases, and then you click the Home Affairs one there, do you see it? And then tables, and then you can just right click on it and select top 1000, for instance. So how does it know? Do you see here, there's something that's a drop down. Do you see this drop down? So this
Yes, I see it.
down,
Yeah.
this drop down, you can choose the database that you want to work on, or you can specify the database that you need to work on the query itself. Let's say we remove this, for instance. Here, let's just remove this, right? And then we change the database there. We're going to have an issue. So let's run it. Do you see it says there's no object called person's records, right? So it's either we bring that part there where we specify which database are we using and the schema that we are using and the table that we are using, and then we can run it. It works fine. It doesn't give you an issue. So it's either you specify it on the query, or you make sure that this drop down here, it's on the right Home Affairs database that you need to use, and then you can basically query it, and then this is what you get. Are you answered? Awesome. Happy? Is it?
Yes,
happy? Is it fine now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please do share your screen so that we can have the recording of that part.
Okay.
So do you guys see data? Do you guys see databases are not hard, right? So if anything, I feel like it's harder to be a software engineer than being a data analyst or a data analyst. So data is the easiest job to actually get into in the coding space. It's the actually easiest, because if you know SQL, you can actually go work as a data analyst your entire life and still get paid enough money by just doing these create database SQL and create dashboards. Basically, that's what data analysts do. That's what data analysts do. So if you don't want to stress about coding and heavy coding, you can just be a data analyst. And then if you feel like, okay, cool, I want some challenges now, then you can go into your things like your data engineering and your data sciences. No, I mean, the more the challenge, the more the money. The more the challenge, the more the money. Okay, so while we wait for this, Happy, please do search for W3 School S so that the recording doesn't just show us waiting for a video. It's gonna be boring. W3 School S there. SQL tutorials, cool. You can click on it, and then yeah, you can on the navigation where it says tutorial, there's home there. You can just scroll down to, you know, it shows you go to the select one, the first one, the select one. Select, there's the select, down, the up. Yes, there, select. So yeah, so this is how you will practice on your side, guys, to see, okay, we are selecting the name and the surname from the table. What's the table? The table is the person's records on which database? On the Home Affairs database. And yeah, so you don't necessarily need to cram the code, because I think one mistake people do is they try to cram the code. Do not cram the code. Do not cram the code. Understand the code and understand the logic. So if you understand the code and if you understand the logic, it becomes very easy for you to be able to Google and try find the answer and the solution to the problem that you are facing, right? Because you understand what you need to do. If you understand, okay, I open my SSMS, I need to create a database, and then you can just come here and look for a code that says create database here. Let's look for a code that says create database. Happy? You can scroll down and then scroll down. Scroll down. Let's look for a part that says create database here. You see there, just click on it, and then it shows you how to create. So it explains to you, you want to create a database. Okay, this is how you create a database. This is, this is what a create statement look like. This is an example. And then you can scroll down and try read more documentation, what it says. And then, you can try implement it. Then there's a question. You can try answer that question. Let's see, what does it say? So I know you guys can go to ChatGPT and use ChatGPT and get the answer in like 2 seconds, right? Like quickly, but I wouldn't advise you to learn coding that way. I would advise you guys to learn coding through reading documentation, doing research, here, come here, search here, how to do database, By the time you finish reading this page, you kind of have an idea of what is going on. And then there's their fun challenge where you can challenge yourself right now. They are happy. Let's challenge ourselves. There's a question that you can just try to run there to see if you really understand what you read there. So that's how you grow as a programmer. So you can just click there. What is the answer?
I think.
And then you can submit. And then it gives you the answer. Cool. Let's go try click a wrong answer. Let's see what happens. I know, go back to that thing. Yeah, let's try click a wrong answer. You see, it gives you wrong answer, and then you can try again, which is good for you because now you're challenging yourself to grow. And then, let's try this one. What does it say? Go back to that question again. There's a new question that it gave you. Click there. And remember, remember when you got the right answer, it took you into a tab. Yeah, click there. Click on it, and then create. Okay, next question. Yes. Next question. And what does it say?
Write the correct SQL statement to create a new database.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, please expand Control++ so that your screen is a bit bigger for the recording. Yeah, cool stuff. And then let's try create it. How would we create it?
Create. Oh.
So show the answer.
Yep.
Okay, before you show the answer, you should have said submit and see. Okay, let's submit and see. So click submit.
Oh,
Submit. Says your answer is wrong. Your answer is wrong, Happy.
no.
Try again. Let's try again. Let's read the question, what it says. Cool. What does it say? Read the question.
It's saying write the correct SQL statement to create a new database called testdb.
Let's create it now.
Yeah.
So do you guys see this is this is good because you get to challenge yourself on the fly. So yeah, let's create it now. So you type create, and then what are we creating?
Database.
Correct. You can create a database. What is it called?
Testdb.
Correct. And then you can submit the answer now. Cool stuff. Correct. Let's move to the next one now. Cool. What does it say?
What should you ensure before creating a new database?
Cool. Let's read there. Let's read through what we need to make sure we have before we create a new database. You need to have guest privileges, you have admin privileges, you have at least one existing table, you have backed up all the other tables, so the other databases. So now we do canceling it out now. Do you guys remember multiple choice? Now we have 4 options. So it says you have at least one existing table. We cancel it out, so it's out of the options that we have. And then it says you have a backup of all other databases, so that doesn't affect how we create a database, so we cancel it out. So now we are left with 2 ones. So you have guest privileges 1, or 2 you have admin privileges. So between the 2, what do you think would be the correct answer?
I think you have admin privileges.
Okay, let's try it. And then let's submit the answer. It's correct. Do you see? So this is how you do it. Let's go to the next page. Cool stuff. So now it says to you, let's read the question. What does the question say?
Drag and drop the correct SQL keywords to create a database named SchoolDB.
Okay, let's drop and drag the correct stuff there.
Yeah, so you're gonna drag the create because you're creating a database, and then you drag the database name also, and
That's correct. And then we move to the next one. So you guys see, you guys are chopping it, eh? You guys are killing it. Cool. What does the question say?
after creating a database, how can you confirm its creation? So by running the command show I think the correct answer is this one.
Which one?
By running a select query.
Okay. What do you think is the correct answer?
Because it's basically gonna select the data from that particular database, and if the database does not exist, then we might get an error that the database that does not exist.
Okay, let's try it.
Wow.
So your answer is wrong. Okay, let's check the downloading. If the downloading is done there.
What?
Okay, go back. So Mbongeni says, can we all contribute to this question? Yes, definitely, you guys can. Cool. So they are saying they think the answer is show databases. Let's try it.
Right.
Cool. So that's the correct answer.
Yep.
Let's go to the next one, next exercise. So yeah, there's probably multiple exercises. There's probably other different websites that you guys can use just to challenge yourself and play and learn SQL. Okay, cool. So let's try answer this one. So you chat, you can drop your answer on the chat there. And then yeah, happy, you can attempt it. And then if you don't get it right, the chat can also suggest. But in the meantime, chat, you can drop the answer there. What do you think is the answer? So the statement says, what is the purpose of the SQL drop database statement? So yeah, I think I'll stop recording the session and then everything else won't be recorded. I'm stopping to record the session for now. The session has been stopped from being recorded. And yeah.